And welcome back to Blake's Den, and in this video I'm going to change the oil on my 2005 Hyundai Santa Fe 2.7 V6. So let's make a start. So changing the oil is one of the most simplest things you can do on a car, and one of the best things you can do to prolong engine life. And it's really easy to do, as I'll show you. So the first thing I'm doing, I've just got the car warming up a bit. That warms up the oil, makes sure everything's all circulated and clears up any sort of dirt or anything which may be in the engine bay. So it's got a little bit more to warm up, so I'm going to leave it a bit longer. And then you need to go underneath and find the sump plug, which is where all the oil is held behind. To improve access, I've just jacked the car up and then put it on an axle stand. If you don't have that axle stand, you can use some ramps or just drive up a curb. As long as you never go under when there's just a jack supporting the car, you should be alright. Right, let's go underneath, find the sump plug. Underneath the car now, looking towards the front, there is the sump plug where all the engine oil is going to come out of. So what we need to do, we need to loosen that off and then put a bowl underneath, and then I've just got this bit of board underneath as well to catch any oil because it tends to just sort of spray everywhere. So let me get a socket on that. So it's a 17mm socket you need to get the sump plug out, and you need to turn it to the left, lefty loosey, righty tighty. So there we are. So that's just cracked it off now, and then I'm going to put the bowl underneath to catch the oil. So, got my washing up bowl here, and then it helps just to keep pressing in on the sump plug, and then there we go. It's the oil coming out now, so we'll leave that to drain. So there's the sump plug all removed. I've just cleaned that up, and then once the oil's finished draining we can put that in. I've also just removed the oil filler cap in the engine bay just to help the draining process and make it a bit faster. The oil is pretty much finished draining there, just the final sort of dribbles coming out. So the best thing to do now is to put the sump plug back in and tighten it up, because what you don't want to do is put the new engine oil in without the sump plug in, and you also don't want to put the new engine oil in and realise that you have put your sump plug in but it's not tight enough and then is leaking everywhere. So we'll just get that tightened up. You don't have to go super tight with these. In fact, you don't want to go really tight, because you could end up stripping the threads and then you'll end up in a whole world of pain. So, got my socket on there. Okay, should have turned it the right way. It might be easier with a spanner on this, just because of the access is a bit limited. But yeah, I'm happy with that. Right, whilst I'm staying down on the ground here, I'm going to do the oil filter. Stop recording. The oil filter is behind this handy inspection cover. So using a 10mm socket, I can undo the retaining screws, which are very tight. Obviously they get all of the spray when you're going down the road, so don't be surprised if they're a bit hard to get off. So with that off, if I reposition here, you can see the oil filter is there. Now when you undo the oil filter, it's going to be messy, it's going to drain some more oil, so you're going to need the bowl back underneath it to catch any sort of drips which come out of it. And to get this off, I'm going to use a special oil filter wrench, and I'll show you how that works. So this is my oil filter wrench. It's just a steel band that you put around the oil filter, and as you tighten it up, it grips and then allows you to turn this to get it off. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set it this angle here and tighten it up, and then I'm just going to pull my bowl back along here to catch any oil, and then this shouldn't be super tight, but there you go, it's beginning to turn and I've taken the tension off it now. So now I can back the filter wrench off, and then with the bowl underneath this hole I can unwind the oil filter, and there you go. Yeah, the oil filter is obviously full of oil, so you want to make sure that drains into your bowl as well. So we'll leave that for a second, let that drain, and then we can go and look at putting my new filter in. So this is my new filter here. I've checked it and it is the same size as the one I took off. It's always best to do that before you start, particularly if this is your only car, because once this is off and you can't really get out and get any more bits you need. So before I put it on, just using a bit of the old oil, I'm just going to lubricate the O-ring on here, and that should help the O-ring seal into place. And it's just a case of reaching up and turning it by hand, making sure you don't cross thread it. There we are, that's going on now. And we'll just tighten that up. And the key thing is, when you do this, always just do it hand tight. Don't over tighten it or you'll never get it back off again. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to clean my hands, get a cloth, and we'll clean this up, and then I'll get it hand tight. Stop recording. Final job to do before you finish down here. It's always useful to write on the date that you did the oil change and the mileage. So I did this on 01/09 versus September, and that's 2024. Most having to write this with my left hand rather than my right hand because of the angle I'm at. And then also I need to write down the mileage as well, which I've just forgotten. Right, and the mileage is 46,956. Very low mileage this car for its age, well, nearly 20 years old and under 50,000 miles. Right, so we can put that flat back on. Everything else we can do in the engine bay. So I'm going to fill it up with oil. I'm using 5W30. You need to check that against the owner's manual depending upon which climate you live in, whether you're in a hot or cold weather. But that's fine for me. And then the oil goes in here. I just dropped a funnel in there, and then I'm just going to slowly and carefully pour the oil in until I've got about half a litre left in this 5 litre bottle. So I'm happy with the level on the dipstick. It's around the full mark. So what I need to do now is run the car. I also want to check underneath, check that there's nothing pouring out. That's always a good place to start. So nothing pouring out underneath. Come around. We'll start up. You may have the engine oil warning light temporarily. Oh no, gone out straight away. So we'll run that for a second. Obviously everything sounds fine. That'll fill up the oil filter full of oil. We'll turn it off, leave it for a few minutes, check the dipstick again, and then top it up as necessary. You're waiting for the oil level to settle. It's always good to check the old oil. Obviously this is quite black, which means it's used. But what we're looking for is any items floating in it, any sort of interference rings, sort of changes in colour, which would represent a different liquid being in there, like water. Yeah, it all looks fine, other than just being old. So yeah, that's fine. Right, I will dispose of that at the local recycling centre, and we'll get the car back on the ground and check the oil level for the final time. The bowl drained. I'm not sure if you can see that, but there are some sparkly bits in the bottom of this bowl. This bowl was clean before I did the oil change. You can, I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up, but there's very little dots and just little bits of shiny metal. You will always get a little bit of shiny metal coming out. The oil filter doesn't catch it all, but there's quite a few bits in there really. That might not be good. Oh well, the car runs fine. Final check of a dipstick and we are just about there, which is just under full, which is very hard to read. So I'm just going to give it a tiny bit more and then we'll call it job done. There we are, all done. Car is running sweet with the new oil in. So I'll just keep an eye on that level for the next week or so, make sure it doesn't drop significantly. And yeah, it's all done. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, press the like button below, that would be very much appreciated. Please consider subscribing to the channel. I've got a lot more videos of this car on there. And also as well, if you've got any questions, please comment below. I answer all of the questions that anybody asks me in the comments section. So once again, thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.